Okay, should have said I'm going to give you a rule of thumb in the next segment, right? So here we are. I just want to show you this little rule of thumb here. So we've got the same situation here. Actually, we want to go to chart number 419. Okay, here we are at chart 419. Sorry, my bad there. We've got pretty much the same stuff here, but I've got an interesting thing to show you here. Let's just look at the chart title, 419. Intervals for bottom and top open modal sevenths. Now I'm going to start to look at it as intervals, but we're still going to carry the shape argument, action fingers, shapes, and the open strings where we need to use them, shape arguments, half shapes. And what I wanted to do is this rule of thumb for you, and I want to show you something. So let's look up here for a minute. Say let's not use the C shape because it's slightly different. But that's our C, D, E minor, C, D, E minor, E major shaped F, G, A, and then this is coined differently, by the way. This isn't coined like C minus diminish. There's another substitution you can do with the second, where you take the second and you add its seventh, and that is a half diminished triad. Okay, so it's just another easier way to do it in mode, because the other method where we want C and then down to B minor, okay, that's out of the mode. That F sharp, and we're going to drop that down anyway, but you can go C to D and then add its seventh, and when you look at the inversion, you got the same thing. And there are other ways to adjust in mode adjustments. So let's look at the E box here for a second. Alright, so what I want to do is tell you, we better go down to the E box right here. So we happen to be lined up here. E major, and then a G minor shaped, G minor, second minor. So here's our E major right here. See how we can focus in? It's a lot cleaner. Root 5/3, E shaped E right there. Okay, any way you look at it. This is sunken, can't be played. If it's black like that, it can't be played. Here's the fret nut. The silver bar is the fret nut. Root, okay, in the key of E. My finger would be your fret nut. Okay. So that's the E, the one shape. Now the two shape, remember we're going up a pentatonic scale, so C, D, E to G. E goes to G in a pentatonic scale on the ivories. See, this is where the key of C becomes vital for this language, like caged. Caged is quoted in the key of C, okay? So it's not in the key of A, which it wouldn't spell caged, it would spell A, B, C sharp, E, F sharp. It's not the A, it's not that. A, B, C sharp, E, F sharp system. It's the C, D, E, A, G system, or backwards, starting from C, C, A, G, E, B, caged. So backwards, going up the modes, okay, going up the modes, so to speak, we're going from E goes to G in a pentatonic scale in the key of C. Now we can't get this important part of the G minor shape, okay? So what do? We're just going to say, what do we get at first? Well, we start with the G minor interval. We've got 2/3 of the G minor triad right there. Okay? So in the key of C, if we're in the E box way up here, the second would be G minor. There's a G minor shape. second minor key is C, octave up. But we can't get that if we have the fret nut, say, down here where my guitar is. But we still have the 2 and the 4. So we're going to skip the 6th, and we're going to take the 7th. So that is up here, because we can't get this 6. So it's 2, 4, 6, and then we go, you know you're going to go straight up the line here. Now it's important to remember, don't select this open unless you want to bounce back and forth of these two musically, not trying to go like this. Oh, I'm trying to make this sound. Okay, that would be like a G7. Right? But I can't do it because it's on string. So it's just straight up the line right there. Now, the rule of thumb that I wanted to talk about with you is very important. So let's grab this for a minute, copy this, and let's go up to the G, to the E box here on the fretboard, and let's look. Okay, so here we're not too big now. Whoa, not too big now. Okay, so I'm going to put this right here, down here. I'm sorry I'm blocking this stuff out. Is that going to phase you guys a little bit? Okay, so this is what's underneath here. Alright, now we have to get this lined up here. We want to get it lined up right, so let's try it one more time. Okay, so want to line the frets up anytime we're doing this, right? There, now the frets are lined up. You could do this in earphone view. You can stretch the image before you paste it on. Can't do that in all of them. They all work a little different. So now we got our E box. Now we have our masked out G minor shape. So let's look. What's the next shape in caged? As we're going this way, we're spelling the word cage. Look at this. C, A, G, E, and then you know D's over here. Right, so we're spelling the word cage when we go to the right. So if we have a G minor shape here, the word caged, we want to stay with the minor quality. So we've got caged, but it's in different capitalization. Small C, big A, small G, you know, it's in different capitalization, or small, big or small capitalization, whatever you call that stuff. So the name escapes me right now, but it's still the word caged or caged backwards. In this case, we're going to the right, we're going to use caged. G minor goes to what in the word caged? The E minor. So we're looking at an E minor shape here. Okay, so we're looking at an E minor shape second, not a third. Okay, so it's right here. Here's where the G minor shape second starts. Okay, now the E minor shape second, what are we looking for? When you think E minor, think second inversion. So you're thinking second inversion, 6, 2, 4. Where is it? Right here, 6, 2, 4. Here's our E minor shape, and there's your E. E minor shape second. So the rule of thumb would be, what do we get if we had the capo right there? I don't have the drawing tool ready right here. Okay, what do we get if we had the capo there? So here's our E minor shape. So that would be, imaginarily, we would have the capo right there. Okay, what would we get on the bar for free? Okay, bottom three, we've already talked about the G minor shape. We got the 2, we got the 4, because G and G minor are always in root. So we've got the 2 and we've got the 4, and we're going to take, let's see, the root is actually the 7th. We're going to take the 7th on the 3rd string. So let's just split it in 2. So we've got this G minor shape bottom. Okay, so let's look down here. We've got our G minor shape. We've got the 2, we've got the 4, we don't have the 6, but we're going to take this modal 7th of the 2nd is the root. So that's our bottom 3 strings. Okay, so remember we're in the E box. Then we're going to do one of these. 2, 4, root. Now we're going to look for a rule of thumb for the top 3. We've taken the G minor shape and we've moved the capo from here in the E shape, which has G minor as the 2nd, and we moved it up to here imaginarily, so we get an E minor because G goes to E in a pentatonic, rather in cage, going to the right, down the fretboard, up the fretboard rather. It looks backwards on the video, but it's my right. We're going in cage, so we go to E minor shape right here, and lo and behold, top 3 strings are right there, open strings. Okay, isn't that wonderful? So we're just going to borrow that and play the E minor for a minute. That's E minor shape D minor. Here's E minor shape E minor. Here's D minor shape D minor if you want to down tune your guitar. By the way, there's nothing wrong with down tuning your guitar. You're just adding those notes. You're adding these notes, and then you can like ignore the dots, which I did long ago, which was a mistake probably. Anyway, a little humor there. So you have we're going to take the top 3 strings there. So the rule of thumb, so our G minor right here is going to be played. We have the E shaped 1. So what we're wanting to do is this. But you got to do it a lot slower, right? Because we're learning it. Then we go up to here is our E minor shape, but it's a no-no to do that if we want to play it open. So on the bottom, let's face it, we've got, what do we've got? We're not going to play the E minor of those bottom strings. We're going to play the top part of that E minor that was the hidden assets of the open E minor position, the top 3 strings. We always took them for granted. Okay, so we're going to go, we just put our finger on the 2, and we've got all top 4 of these, because remember, we're going to do this bottom thing. And then right into the top. So you can just borrow one of the bottom, the 3rd string there, the D string, and you can perhaps put your thumb there. But the rule of thumb, by the way, talk about thumbs. The rule of thumb is we're going to use the inner notes of the E minor. Okay, that's what we're going to do. And we'll go over the C box for a second. Whoop, we're still in drawing mode. Go over to the C box for a second here. Here's the E minor in the C box is 7-3-5, right? 2nd inversion, 7-3-5 right there. But then we have 5-7-3 up there, which is nice. I forgot what I was going to say. So I'm going to end the lesson by saying there's a rule of thumb, and that is we're going to look at the position 1 pentatonic scale advanced, and then take the inner notes of that position to get our full 6 strings. Those inner notes will be on the top 3 strings. Okay, that's going to be our rule of thumb, our go-to rule.